Everyone, once again, welcome to VNRE. And today we are once again back with our book review number 4. I hope you are able to see our. Namaste, everyone. Yes, you are able to see our title. That is a new kind of world championship we are running. And this championship is about the books from various countries. As we had discussed previously, that this championship is based on classification of the countries on the basis of their human development index. And the human development index is based on the life expectancy, the number of years of schooling, and the income per capita. So basically, it will describe the country based on how long and how healthy the people are living life, how knowledgeable they are, and what is the standard of living. Combining all these things together, we have Human Development Index. Already in last videos, we have seen about Switzerland, we have seen about Albania. We had a very nice match between Albania and Switzerland. Then we had a very interesting discussion on Norway and Bulgaria. After that, last week we had discussion between Iceland and Grenada. So today I am going to talk about Hong Kong and Soumya is going to talk about
Barbados.
Barbados. So, what book I read for Hong Kong? Hong Kong, we read Concise History of Hong Kong, and Soumya read
Barbados, Discovering Paradise's Untold Treasures.
Okay. So it's very interesting that all these countries, they have some very common theme of invasion and of colonization. Both these countries are very well known colonies of British people, and how these came into existence and so on and so forth. We are going to have a discussion. So here is Hong Kong for all of you. Hong Kong is in the South China Sea, and you can see it is attached to China. But China, there are lots of things, and Hong Kong was not so much populated. Yes, it was populated. There were fishing villages in the Hong Kong region. However, it was not so much populated at that time when the Britishers arrived. The Britishers arrived and they created a colony over there. How it happened, what happened, I will share with you, and just a bit of the history I will share with you. However, the name Hong Kong, as it suggests, it's called Hong Kong because it it describes its feature, that is fragrant harbor. It's a very beautiful place overall. It used to be a fishing village, as I mentioned to all of you. And here the language which is spoken is Cantonese rather than Mandarin. Mandarin is a language which is spoken all across the China. Cantonese language is spoken in very few regions, but these regions are very important to the world, considering they are all industrial regions. And Hong Kong, all of you know that it is one of the very interesting business places in the world. Or else we can say that it is pretty, topmost financial capital of the world. Hong Kong was responsible for popularization of Kung Fu. Here is one very interesting author. His photo you can see here. His name is Dr. Louis Cha, and he was responsible for popularizing Kung Fu through his novels and through his books. And all these books and novels were translated or transcribed into movies, and that is how we all know Kung Fu. This region is famous for the Chinese tiger also, Chinese tigers, and these tigers are now on the verge of extinction. However, they were very interesting, and Hong Kong was a place where these tigers used to roam around freely. From 1841 to 1997, this place was under the British rule. And you know that the Paris of the Orient is Shanghai, and Hong Kong is considered to be one of the most important places considering its strategic placement in the geography. However, the China itself is biased towards the people living in the north, and southern cities and southern provinces are not so important for the Chinese governance. It was a home for refugees, or else if I want to tell that it was a homes like similar to Iceland, where criminals and murderers used to go. Same way, Hong Kong also is a place for various kind of refugees who are criminals or who are discarded from their own countries. China did not, and even today also most probably does not like people who are migrants, and these migrants are considered as criminals or unfilial, means the sons or daughters who don't take care of their parents. The very important aspect about Hong Kong was that opium trade. Opium was grown in India. The Indians, our indigenous people were forced to do opium farming, and from here the opium and cotton was taken to Hong Kong, and from there to the rest of the world. And they used to refer to it as foreign mud, and it was forcibly produced in India. And Hong Kong is very famous for their innovative film industry as well. You can see here Hong Kong flag. This Hong Kong now, after 1997, it has come under the Chinese rule, and it is considered to be special administrative region of China. However, now China is once again tightening the grip over Hong Kong and wants to normalize into the rest of the China. But people of Hong Kong love independence, love freedom. That was there with them for a long time. However, now they are starting to protest and all these things in the current era that is all going on in Hong Kong. Till 1860, surprisingly, because Britain was colonizing Hong Kong, the payment was in rupees. And there was a very interesting Indian presence in terms of Parsi people, in terms of Indian Muslims, and in terms of Indian Sikhs. They used to like Hong Kong because it was a relaxing place and it was a kind of anti-communist land for Americans. However, as you can see here, Hong Kong is very famous in terms of export of porcelain, in terms of rattan, in terms of artificial flowers, in terms of wigs, not the judges, but the wigs of the judges. And we know that China had a very interesting history of suppressing the pro-democratic ways of asking of citizens, but it was suppressed and communism has prevailed in China. Now, coming to Barbados, what I would like to say about Hong Kong is that it is a place where a lot of freedom was given. However, it is a place which is completely created by the British colonizers, considering they wanted a point of advantage in that region, and they created Hong Kong from very few thousands of people to now millions and millions of people, or maybe 20,000 plus people per square kilometer. So it's a very interesting place. Okay. And it is one of the free, financially, very free market is available for people to do business. Over to Soumya.
Okay. Like Mayur already said, there are a lot of similarities between all of the countries that we have been studying, and we are in week 4 now. So the book that I read was called Discovering Paradise's Untold Treasures from Barbados. And as you can see here, Barbados is basically present in the near the Caribbean Sea, eastern part of the Caribbean Sea. And a lot of people who live there basically are people who have African, they're basically descendants from Africa. So majority of their population are people who are African descendants. So surprisingly, the population of Barbados, which is in our HDI, the 4th on the high HDI index, is just 3 lakh people. So Mayur actually was making a light humor about it, saying 3 lakh people, maybe we are living in Jayanagar of Bangalore, that the population is so sparse. Pre-colonial era, before 1500s, most of the people who lived here were Native American and Native American tribes, including Arawak and Kalingo tribes. So Kalingo basically means the Caribbean tribes. And then they were first basically colonized by Portuguese. After Portuguese, they were colonized by Spanish. And almost from 1700 onwards, they were colonized by the British. So they had almost 300 years of British rule before in 1938, there was called a Bassa rebellion that happened, where that was like a turning point in their fight for independence, we could say. And finally, they got independence in 1966. So they are about 35 years post-independence country, as we can say. However, they still are able to make it to the high
73
HDI 73 rank on the Human Development Index, and fourth in our list, which we have made to review in this book review championship. Just to give an overview, sugar and agriculture are the most primary aspects of what people do here. Even way before, hundreds and thousands of years before, sugarcane has been the primary crop, making sugar, distilling sugar, all of these things, growing more and more sugarcane, and related agricultural aspects are what used to be the most primary aspects of Barbados. However, after independence and few years before independence, tourism took over, and now it is one of the most sought out islands for people to visit on vacation, for tourism purposes, and so on. And because of this, they have become very strong in finance and offshore banking, and they have one of the most stable democracies in the world. Apparently, they have a very good democracy. People vote, they have very high voting turnout, and the democracy overall functions really very well and very stable. These practices are something that I was very interested about, because these are, again, like last week also we had reviewed Grenada and Iceland, and how all of these, and Mayur had reviewed Bulgaria the week before that, and you see that a lot of similarities are there with what we do here as well. And one of them which struck me for me very nicely was about ancestral worship. So every year they have a practice of doing something like a havan. They will put fire and they will pray to the fire. They will give, like how we give naivedyam and prasad to our ancestors. They will prepare food, their traditional dishes. They will pray to the ancestors for their, and seek their blessings and protection. They also have a huge respect for elders. So a lot of their regular day-to-day work happens even in their parliament and in their democracy as well. They have a lot of value for the advice that is given by the elders, and elderly people play a very major role in a lot of decision making and advising as well. They have a very good social cohesion in their community. So they have many festivals. Even during Independence Day, they will all come together. There will be carnival. So they will celebrate it as a community rather than individual families. And for them to maintain their culture, that social cohesion component is extremely important. And similar to us, they have cultural and folklore practices like using herbal medicines and having some supernatural beliefs like duppies. So duppies are basically their local ghosts, like how, when we scare our small children, we will say, Gumma Bartane, Gumma. So I kind of related to it, related the duppy to our Gumma. And again, they, like I said, they have come from a strong African cultural heritage. Just some interesting facts about Barbados that I wanted to put here and share, where it is the birthplace of rum. And the Mount Gate distillery, which is one of the distilleries there, is believed to be the world's oldest rum producing place. And this is, of course, because they have the sugarcane as the primary crop. And that is how they discovered how to make rum from whatever waste material they had left over after extraction of sugar. Another very nice, interesting thing is, because of the Caribbean Sea, Barbados has a lot of variety of fish called as the flying fish. And as you can see in the picture here, these fish have wings and they can fly for many, many meters. So they kind of are in the ocean, in the sea, and then they jump out into the air and they fly. And it's a beautiful sight, apparently. You can see some videos on YouTube where there will be like thousands of fish just jumping in and out of water and flying just above the level of water. So a lot of their local food also has fish as a very primary component. One of the important turning points for them was also George Washington's visit from the US in 1751. And this in turn also impacted their culture in some way. They have a couple of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. And this is one of the pictures, this lower picture you can see here. This is in the Bathsheba soup bowl. So what you can see here is that because of the winds and the wind formations and the waves are very high. So people basically use this area to do a lot of surfing. And as you can see here, because of the natural phenomenon that occurs in that sea, these rocks in the ocean are like mushrooms. So you can see it's like as if mushroom growing out of the ocean, but it is actually a huge rock formation. So this is one of the very important tourism place in Barbados. Apart from this, there is also something called as the Harrison's Cave. And one last thing that I want to highlight is the presence of velvet monkeys. So velvet monkeys are very much there in the wild, but velvet monkeys apparently do not belong primarily to Barbados. They were brought from Africa at some point, many hundred years ago, maybe 400, 500 years ago. And they now thrive the jungles and the wildlife of Barbados. So we came to the end of the PowerPoint, but as you can see, it is quite interesting to see how Hong Kong and Barbados, though are very different, they had like a colonial culture and how they are thriving in their own ways.
Yes, Hong Kong was quite different, and as we can see, like Britishers did not put much influence over there for a long time, from 1841 to 1997, and it was like the declining of the British Empire, and because of that, they were not influencing much. The main purpose was not to spread Christianity. It was only to facilitate the trade, world trade. And as we all know, that India is the biggest sufferer. हमारा जो भारत देश है उसको बहुत अच्छे से लूटा गया है, बहुत अच्छे से, around $45 trillion. $45 trillion. There are many documentaries which you should go and see how systematically Britishers looted us for hundreds of years. So initially, the whole world's treasure, if you can say, 34% was in India. 34% of world's wealth was in India. The Mughal loots did the damage for a few hundred years, and that was only 10%. But it got reduced to 24%. However, when Britishers came, they reduced it to single digit. They reduced it to 2.3% or something like that. So you can go and watch those videos. My percentages may not be correct, but the essence is they looted us by 90%. Whatever was available after Mughal invasion, they looted us and they left us with only 10%. And that 10% was also belonging to our Rajas and Maharajas who were not, sharing with the normal public. And it was a very difficult time for all of us. Still, we are going through the horrors of these loots. And that is why studying each and every country and how their history has been. Hong Kong was lucky. I can say that there was not much to take away. But however, in that process also, there was a lot of bitterness, and it was very interesting. If you go through the book, you will come to know that Chinese people, they have that one statement I told that Chinese people consider immigrants as criminals, or they consider them as you know those who are not taking care of their parents, those who betray their own parents, that kind of people they consider them as. So that is why I feel that Hong Kong was able to come back to China, and the lot of industriousness of the people over there has made Hong Kong as one of the greatest countries for financial works and for trade across the world. Even better than New York, even better than London, apparently. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining in. And we request all of you to please understand these intricacies and do your best as far as you can. Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Have a